Divorce, pregnancy, arrests, accidents, cancer, mental health struggles, addiction, death, miscarriage, memory loss, fire. We didn't get the job or we lost the job. A global pandemic, betrayal, a relationship that didn't work out. All these things, what they do is they come in and they wreck our plans, don't they? They end up sending us into a direction that we never imagined. So today I want to ask the question, where's God in unexpected change? You see, I thought that I was going to finish all 4 years of college with my friends until the 2 lines went positive on a pregnancy test. I thought I was going to be married my whole life until my first husband sat down with me and said, "Hey, I want a divorce." I remember when the doctor came in and after the ultrasound and said, "Angie, I'm sorry, but there's no heartbeat." Or when the boss called my husband and said, "Hey, we're going to need you to come clear out all your stuff because we're closing after midnight tonight." Or when the doctor looked at my mom in her hospital bed and said to her, "Hey, Kathy, there's nothing else we can do. You only have a couple of more days left to live." Unexpected change, it comes in our life and it throws us off. It throws us off, like our whole plans, our whole imagination for the future of us is all of a sudden now just shut down and close to us, like a detour. All the times where our life, we thought we were going this way, that road is no longer available to us. You see, I thought I'd finish college at the same school that I started, and I thought I would stay married to my first husband, and I thought I would have a baby. I thought I would get the chance to watch my mom grow old. But all of a sudden, unexpected change came in, and those things were no longer available to me. I think that if we've lived long enough, we've all experienced this. Something happens, and our life just doesn't go the way we planned or expected, and maybe it doesn't go the way that we wanted either. I have a friend this past summer, she had to sit down with her husband and her children and say that they're getting divorced. That from that moment, all of their lives will forever be on a different path. Nobody gets married thinking that someday that they're going to end up getting divorced. Or another friend, her beautiful daughter was in a terrible, tragic car accident that resulted in a traumatic brain injury when she hit the tree. And they thought that they would be sending her off to college this fall, but now they're just trying to get her to be able to walk and talk in full sentences again. Another friend went to his annual physical at the doctor. They ran the usual tests, but one of them came back as having unusual results. The doctor ran another scan and then sat my friend down and said, "Hey, I'm really sorry to tell you, but you have cancer." Or I was talking to a retiree here at the church who said they received a bill far greater than they imagined, and now they're going to probably have to go get a job in their retirement in order to make sure that it was paid for. I mean, nobody plans on retiring and then having to go back to work. In the book of Acts, this part of the Bible, we read about a man named Paul. Now, 2,000 years ago is when Paul was walking around in this world, and he's responsible for writing a lot of the Bible. Now, back then, Paul was also called Saul in some circles. It's kind of like in our culture how we call somebody named John, he can be known as Jack, or Catherine can be a Katie. So Saul and Paul, they're kind of interchangeable in this culture. But Paul, he was this like very zealous, Saul Paul, he was this very zealous anti-Christian movement kind of guy. And so he'd run around and he was persecuting Christians. He thought that they were just the worst, that they were tainting his beloved Jewish faith. He was this religious Pharisee. And so what he was charged with was going and arresting them and then keeping them in prison, and occasionally that would result in death. This is how zealous Saul Paul is in the book of Acts. It says this, it says, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. Breathing out murderous threats. Can you imagine? And then he went to the high priest and he asked the high priest, he said, "If I find anyone who belongs to the way," that's what they called the earliest Christians, "if I find anybody who belongs to the way, whether men or women, can I please take them as prisoners to Jerusalem?" See, Saul Paul, he is so convinced of the path that he is on, that he's doing God's almighty work in the world, that he is imprisoning and murdering Christians, and he is on the road to Damascus to go get some more of those people of the way. So he's going to do even more of that. But then his story continues. It says, as he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him, and he fell to the ground, and he heard a voice say to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" "Who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting." And then Jesus said, "Now get up and go into the city, and you'll be told what you must do." You see, here's Saul Paul. He's walking one way where he thinks that he's in charge and he's on top of the world and he's going to take care of all of this business. But then he has this sudden thing. This sudden thing happened, this encounter with Jesus that changes his life entirely, changes his life 180 degrees in the opposite direction. You see, Saul Paul, he's moved from this like hustling, striving life where he's hustling and manifesting and controlling and making this path a way for himself to where he finally realizes that he is called into a surrendered life. The life that God is taking him down, the life that God has got him, and he's got this encounter with Jesus, and he doesn't have any other choice but to just go with him. I think that sometimes this happens in our lives. Sometimes we have this striving life that we've been trying to push forward towards. But sometimes maybe what God's inviting us into is a surrendered life, is one understanding that no matter what happens, no matter what detour, what unexpected change happens in our lives, that God is still present and God is still holding us. God holds us when we're overwhelmed and anxious and frustrated. God holds us even when we are angry. And God promises that no matter what happens in our lives, not that bad things aren't going to happen in our lives, but if they do, we're not alone in them. Instead, the God of the universe is walking right alongside it. That's God's promise for you today when life throws you an unexpected change.